was 16, I moved to a small, secluded town next to Shreveport, Louisiana. I stayed one summer with my Uncle John, who lived there for years. Although he was never home, this town was a breath of fresh air. Peace and quiet is exactly what I needed, or so I thought. We had one neighbor who was about a half a mile away. His name was Jack. Jack was actually the first person I met here. He seemed friendly enough. Every time we'd drive by, he'd always wave, told me if I ever needed anything, that he would have my back. Jack and I quickly became friends. We often spent time on his dirt bikes, riding around his 10-acre property. Jack was a retired detective, with countless tales of his times on the force. His stories were always so fascinating, but one really stood out in particular. Jack told me about a series of unsolved disappearances that plagued the town years ago. The victims were never found, and the case went cold. Jack mentioned that some people in the town actually believed that the disappearances were actually linked to an abandoned building just outside of town. One night, the curiosity got the best of us. Jack suggested we explore this abandoned building. Eager for an actual adventure, especially because this town didn't have much to do, we set out into the night armed with flashlights. The decaying building was barely visible in the moonlight. The inside was even creepier. Dust-covered furniture and the nasty smell of mold. We split up to cover more ground of this abandoned building. As I wandered through the rooms, I stumbled upon an old journal. Its pages were filled with cryptic notes about experiments and subjects. A chill ran down my spine. Suddenly, I heard a noise which sounded like it was coming from the direction of the cafeteria. I called out to Jack, but there was no response. My heart began to pound. As the noise grew louder, I headed to the cafeteria. When arriving to the cafeteria, I could see Jack trying to move a big industrial refrigerator. I approached him and he said, "Found something interesting," with the most calmest look in his eyes. We pushed the refrigerator and behind it was a door. We then opened the door and seen a staircase that went down and then to the left. Our curious minds were racing as we decided to descend down these stairs. The further down we went, the more stronger the smell of decay and mold was filling the entire room. By the time we got to the bottom of the stairs, we found medical equipment in cages, and some even looked like they could even hold a human being. I was obviously trembling. I said, "Jack, we should leave." He replied, "Not yet," with a strange look in his eyes. Before I could react, Jack grabbed me and threw me inside the cage. The door slammed shut and I was trapped. Panic started to set in as Jack paced back and forth with a sinister smile on his face. You see, those disappearances were not random. I was investigating something much darker than that. People in this town, they all wanted to cover it up. I just couldn't let it go. I needed to know the truth. "Jack, what are you talking about?" I said with tears in my eyes. This building belonged to a gypsy family, and they were here experimenting on people. The town's leaders knew everything about it but did nothing to stop it. And when I got too close, they tried to silence me, but I survived. I've been wanting to uncover the truth ever since, and now you are going to be the one to help me do that. What do I have to do with any of this? You are the missing puzzle piece. You see, the experiments, they never stopped. Gypsies had some type of insider to help them out with these things. And this person has continued their work in secrecy, and you're gonna help me stop them. Jack left me there, promising that he would return. Hours turned to days. I was on the brink of despair. No food, no water. At my weakest point, I heard a noise. There were footsteps, but these weren't Jack's footsteps. These were much lighter. As I seen someone coming down the stairs with a light, a flashlight pointed my way. Blinded by the light, it was really hard to see who was on the other side. She came up to me and said, "Are you okay?" While unlocking the cage, I was weak. She assisted me out of this cage and helped me up these stairs. She stated that she was part of the FBI and they'd been looking for me, as I'd been reported missing by my Uncle John and last seen with a man named Jack. Once we got outside, there was a team of FBI agents waiting for me to talk to them. We then headed out to the headquarters, and this was the point where Jack was finally apprehended. The truth had finally come to light, and the town finally knew what kind of dark past that Jack had. Since that point, I've been trying to put my life back together. Couldn't shake the feeling of being betrayed. Jack was my only friend around there. Now that it was so quiet, I really felt uncomfortable even living in that town. I moved shortly after this incident, but the scars of what happened with me and Jack live on till this day. And even now, I wonder, was that really all the secrets, or was there more to uncover? This story was brought to you by a person who watches the channel. They wanted to remain anonymous, but they allowed me to reply to their comment with a video. If you or someone you know would like their story told, please comment below and I'll tell yours next. I appreciate your time.